delayed checks for Social Security, including retirement, disability, SSDI, survivors, spousal, SSI, VA, and RRB. I have all the details and answers to your questions and concerns right here in the video. Let's get into it and talk about what's going on. All right, here we are yet again, right down to the wire, right down to the very last minute, and this is certainly causing a lot of concerns for those people receiving benefits administered by the Social Security Administration. I've certainly seen these questions and concerns down below in the comment section, which is why I am here in this video talking about this. And for the couple of you that have reached out through email asking me about this as well, again, here is your dedicated video. I hope this answers it for you, but let me talk about this because this situation that we're dealing with right now comes up every so often. It's not all that often, every year and a half, 2 years, or every couple years or so. This does come up, and here we are yet again, and they're really milking the clock on this thing as they always do. Well, again, it's causing a lot of people out there to be very, very concerned about their monthly benefit. It's a different situation that we dealt with just a few weeks ago at the end of 2024. We kind of dealt with a different situation. That was nothing compared to what we're dealing with now. This is a much more severe situation. So let me explain what's going on here, okay? All right, now, if you want, I would suggest hanging out and listening to this a little bit. If you don't want to, that's totally fine too. It's kind of confusing, but I'll try to explain this in such a way that makes sense. And where we currently stand right now, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about the whole situation simply because it's just way more information that you need to know about it. And honestly, it's kind of confusing. So here's what it comes down to. The debt ceiling. Have you heard that before? Yeah, of course you have. Now, in fact, if you've been watching the videos for about, I don't know, a year and a half now, probably 2 years, you've certainly heard me talk about this. Why? Back in early 2023 is the last time we dealt with this, okay? They hammered this thing out. They went back and forth negotiating. And then finally, in May and June of 2023, they came together on a deal and they pushed it out until when? Yeah, January 1st, 2025, okay? That is when the debt limit basically was reached, or they pushed it out until then. The new debt ceiling would have to be put in place as of, basically the new year. Here we are. And then basically what happens is they don't have a new debt ceiling. So what are we doing? Let's just say this much. They're out of money. The federal government is basically out of money. That's what it comes down to. Now, I could go into much more detail about this. It's honestly confusing the deeper I go into this. I'm not really going to get into it very deep here, but let's think of it this way. The federal government appropriates a certain dollar amount that they can basically spend to pay the bills, right? Pay all the interest on all the national debt, well over $36 trillion now, and they need money to dip into this. Think of it like a savings account, right? We may or may not have a savings account or a checking account, all of us personally, and we maybe dip into that every so often. We have some money that comes in, we have money that goes back out in the form of bill payments and stuff like that. Same situation here for the government. However, they're dealing with a lot more money than we are. They're dealing with trillions. We're probably dealing with maybe fives, tens, hundreds, maybe thousands if you're lucky, right? We're dealing with significantly smaller numbers. It's the same situation here. They need more money. How do they get more money? Lawmakers come together and they appropriate more money by raising the debt ceiling. Basically what they do is they say, sure, we can appropriate a couple $1 trillion or whatever it happens to be, $2, $3, $4, $5 trillion, and we're good for the next couple years or whatever it happens to be, right? That's what they do. They raise the debt ceiling. Basically what they're doing is they're saying we can go into debt further. No problem. Let's just borrow a bunch more money and we can certainly go into further debt. That's literally what it comes down to, right? The problem is they don't have any more money. So Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, she's still there for a little bit longer, but she's there, and she made a statement a while ago, a couple weeks ago. She came out and made a statement and basically said sometime between January 14th and January 23rd, she will start making she'll need to start taking extraordinary measures to avoid a default. Now, what would a default be? A default in this country would simply be we can't pay our debt, right? It's just like a credit card bill or a mortgage payment or whatever type of loan that we might have, a car payment, right? If we can't make a debt payment, us personally, what happens? Well, you get a little bit of time, but not much, and then we default. Well, they repossess the car, they foreclose on the house, they whatever, right? Same situation. They default. That's us on a personal level. If the country defaults, well, that's a bad thing, and that can happen too. In other words, that means bankrupt. You're out of money, bankrupt, game over, right? What happens to somebody's credit rating when that happens? bad, down the tubes, not a good situation. Their credit score goes down, same situation with the United States. We have a credit rating as a country as well. What is our ability to lend to and our ability to pay back? We have a credit rating as a country. It's generally very good, but if we default in this country, which I don't think will happen, but you never know, we could potentially see that credit rating drop significantly, which would make money more expensive for all of us because it would cost more to borrow that money. And that's what we do in this country is we borrow a ton of money. Okay, so anyway, long story short here, I've seen a ton of questions coming in saying, hey, I've heard this is going to, end my benefit. It's going to cancel my benefit. It's going to delay my benefit. It's going to do all this stuff to my Social Security check. And again, back in early 2023, I saw so many questions about this as well. And every year toward the end of the year, when we deal with the government shutdown situation, by the way, that's small potatoes. Who cares about a government shutdown at this point? That's nothing compared to a potential default in this country. Default is significantly worse. Think about it. A government shutdown, who cares? We don't, have some basic services. Okay, fine. We'll be just fine. A default, we just basically declared bankrupt. That's not good, right? As a country, that's the difference. Massively different. This is way, way, way more severe. Anyway, here's what it comes down to, okay? I've said this before in other videos. Your benefits will not, I repeat, will not be impacted whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. You will continue to get paid, okay? Default or not, okay, I'm going to say this much. We don't want to default. Trust me on that. We do not want to default in this country. I don't think we will, but anything is always on the table, right? Highly unlikely that we will in this country, but who knows? There's always a chance for something, right? My point is, no matter what happens, whether they get the debt ceiling resolved or we do default in this country, whatever the outcome is, your benefits will not be impacted. There are mandatory spending that must take place in the event of a government shutdown and in the event of a default. Some of those mandatory spendings are Social Security, must continue to pay. Now, here's another thing as well. There's been this talk like, well, if we default, we're not going to get the tax revenues coming into Social Security. Okay, fine. Maybe that's the case. But guess what? Social Security is still sitting on about $2.7 trillion in trust fund money. My point is, right now, the Social Security Administration pays out about $1.3 trillion in benefits to beneficiaries per year. It's a little bit more than that, but I'm rounding here for easy math, okay? $1.3 trillion a year in benefits goes out the door. It's a lot of money. Now, if they have $2.7 trillion, and again, I'm rounding that number a little bit again just to make some easy points here. They have about $2.7 trillion sitting in the trust funds, right? Available to them kind of essentially, right? The money's there, kind of slash not there. It's available to them. My point is, $1.3 trillion a year multiplied by 2 years would be $2.6 trillion. They literally have more than 2 years worth of runway here. If not a single penny came into Social Security for the next 2 years, they could literally continue to pay out and pay down the trust fund with just the money that is sitting there, the $2.7+ trillion. We're good for 2 years, okay? We're fine, okay? You probably don't even need to know that information, but I want to share with you anyway, even to say that if Social Security does not collect another penny of tax revenue for the next 2 years, well, it'll be a fun run for 2 years, and then we're done. You get my point? Do not worry about that, by the way. I'm just making that as an example. They've got a lot of money, $2.7+ trillion in the trust fund available. They pay out about $1.3 trillion. We have 2+ years worth of benefits to go out to beneficiaries before we would have any major problems, as in benefits would be completely ended. It's not going to happen. Tax revenues are not going anywhere. They will continue to get that tax revenue. They will continue to get funded. They will continue to push benefit checks out. Government shutdown or not, default or not, whatever happens to go on, there's mandatory spending. Social Security is one of them. You're protected. That's cool. That's the cool thing about Social Security that a lot of people don't really realize. There are laws in place that say no matter what happens, if stuff hits the fan, we've still got to pay Social Security. That's basically what they say, right? I mean, obviously it's worded a little bit differently than that, but you get my point, right? If it gets really, really bad, the mandatory spending says we've got to take care of the beneficiaries. We must continue to make those payments, and they will, right? But who knows? Does some weird law come in at the very last minute if stuff gets really, really bad that says, we're going to halt payments? I mean, anything can happen. I wouldn't count on that. I wouldn't think that's going to happen, but you're good, okay? So one thing I want to say for you really quickly is this much. Please do not worry about your benefit. I know there's a lot of people out there, and now there's a lot of headlines. I see them too. Oh, benefits are ending. Benefits are canceled. They're ending SSI. They're ending Social Security. They're going to do away with the program. All benefits are gone. Just stupid statements like this. It's not happening. None of that is going to happen. Social Security has been around for almost 90 years. In fact, it's this year. Yeah, this year, 2025, will be the 90th birthday of Social Security. It was formed back in 1935, the Social Security Act, okay? 90 years today, or not today, this year, 2025, sorry. It's not today. It's actually August 14th is the 90th birthday of Social Security. 90 years. They're not doing away with the program anytime soon. I guarantee it, okay? They've got a lot of money. A lot of people rely on this. They cannot just do away with this program. Not happening, okay? So I hope this helps you a little bit. Please sleep easy. Take a sigh of relief. You've got nothing to worry about here. When it comes to your monthly benefit, when it comes to a bunch of other things, yeah, there's certainly some things out there we got to watch right now because we are on very unstable footings with the overall situation that we're dealing with. As in the economy, we're going to see an exciting year here. It's going to be eventful, I can guarantee you that much. Anyway, hope this helps you. Again, please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Totally free to do so. Big old subscribe button down below. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate your support. Also, if you can think of one or two people that benefit from this information here in the video, can you please feel free to share this video with them? Again, share button right down below as well. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. Otherwise, if you can check out any of the other 5,000 plus videos here on the channel, check those out, and as always, feel free to share those as well. Totally free. Otherwise, down below in the description and the top of the comment section, I have linked some popular videos for you there. Please check those out, or right now showing up on your screen as well. You'll see some videos there. Again, have a nice day. Thank you so much for watching. Please have a good one, and I'll see you again later.